Good morning.
Good morning.
Everything in life is a mindset. Our guest speaker today is a mindfulness coach and a hypnotist. Correct? Chris Lear. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Lear.
This is fine. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, before we get started today, I got a question for all of you. So, I'd like you to think for a moment about when was the last time that you said to yourself, I am a great athlete? Is that something that anybody say that to themselves today? Is that something anybody said to themselves in the last week? Or is it something that you maybe don't say to yourself very often or at all? So, I got some good news and I got some bad news for you. And I'm usually, kind of a glass half full person, but I'm gonna start with the bad news first. So, the bad news is if you're not telling yourself, I'm a great athlete, that means you're probably saying other things to yourself that aren't as helpful, that aren't as positive. Now, the good news about that is, first of all, you're not alone. When you look around here, not very many people raised their hands when I said, have you told yourself you're a great athlete today? The other thing is, it's very common. Even people who are successful have those kinds of doubts and uncertainties, and I'll share a story with you that kind of illustrates that. So, there was a dean of students at Stanford University who shared this story of having the incoming group of first-year students assembled in an auditorium for a presentation. And she asked those kids, this is Stanford University, so these kids had to be pretty successful to get into that school, right? And she asked them, she said, okay, look around you, and I want you to think about, are you the person in this group where the admissions committee got it wrong and you don't belong here with these other students? And she asked them to raise their hand if they thought that they were the one in that room where the admissions committee got it wrong and they didn't belong there with the rest of these incoming students. You want to know how many of them raised their hand that they thought they were the one who didn't belong? It was about 2/3 of those kids who thought that they didn't belong in that class of incoming first-year students. Now, these are kids who have been successful in their academic career, they got into a really good school, and 2/3 of them thought that they didn't belong there. So if 2/3 of those students are thinking that they're the one that didn't belong with the rest of those students, that kind of tells you how common this is for people to have that self-doubt, that uncertainty, to not be putting those positive ideas into their mind about who they are and what they're capable of. So again, as Jing said, my name is Christopher Lear. I'm a sports hypnotist, I'm a mindset coach, and I work with people to help them shift from that kind of self-doubt that leads them to think, well, maybe I'm the one in this group who doesn't belong, not as good as everybody else, to a mindset of confidence, self-assuredness, and as we're going to talk about today, of determination. So when you think about determination, there's a lot of things you can call that. I think of it as grit, I think of it as mental toughness, but whatever you call it, you probably all watched a competition at some point, whether it's a team sport like football or hockey, or whether it's individual competition. You probably all watched competition at some point where one of the teams or one of the individuals is losing, they're behind, but you know the history there. And you're watching this going, okay, I know how this ends, and it's not necessarily with them losing. They've got that history of toughness, of determination, of working through adversity, and you can watch the game unfold as they come back from behind to win. That's really determination in action right there. When you've got a team that can be behind 1 minute, and the next minute, they're taking over, and now they're coming from behind to win. And when I think about changing that mindset to determination and mental toughness, there are really two parts of the equation. The first one is to get rid of some of those mental uncertainties that I was just kind of talking about. So that's all the stuff that builds up that we don't even think about, because nobody sits down consciously and they're like, oh, I want to have more self-doubt. I want to be less sure of myself, right? It's all the stuff that creeps in because maybe you were in a game and you made a bad play, and then 2 days later you're still thinking about it and you're going, oh, why did I do that? What happened there? Or you have a practice that doesn't go well, or there's days where you just don't feel that great, right? And it's just stuff that you're not sitting down trying to have those self-doubts. They just crop up, from time to time. Like, I'm sure tomorrow I'll be sitting there, having lunch or something, and I'll think, oh, in that talk yesterday, I could have said this better. Or I'm not sure that I delivered this part of the message as well as I could, right? There's all those things that we aren't even aware of the mental self-talk that we're doing all the time. So that piece of the equation, getting rid of that self-doubt, that's about becoming more aware of what kind of things we say to ourselves, about what we're capable of, about what we can have and what we can't have. The other side of this coin is more interesting because this is the part where you get to be proactive about it and you get to be intentional about it. Because you can actually sit down and think about what kinds of thoughts you want to be putting into your head. What kind of messages do you want to be creating for yourself about what you're capable of and what kind of mental toughness you have. What's your ability to work through things when you're not going well, when the going gets tough. And so that's what I'm going to focus on a lot today, but I'm going to give you tools for both sides of that. I'm going to give you some tools for how you can change that internal self-talk so you're getting rid of some of those self-doubts, and I'm going to help you with some things that you can use to intentionally put more positive thoughts into your mind about what you're capable of. So you can do anything that you want to do if you believe in it. And that's really like a three-step process to this. So it starts with, you have to be able to think of what it is that you want to do and set a goal for yourself around it. And when I talk about goal setting, what you want to have as a goal is what I call stretchy but achievable. And so what that means is, if your goal is not stretchy, if your goal is something that you're really comfortable that you're able to do, you're not really growing by having that goal, right? If you set a goal where you're like 99% sure you can accomplish it, that's not going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's not going to cause you to grow in what you're doing. You're setting a goal that you definitely, you're going to get it, but you're not growing in the process of doing it. And the attainable side of it, what I mean by that is, so you're probably aware that the Olympics are starting this weekend. I could set a goal for myself of, I want to go compete in the Olympics. Well, that's not very realistic for me. First of all, I'm way older than pretty much anybody that's competing in the Olympics. I'm not training for anything. So if I set a goal for myself that I'm going to go compete in the Olympics, I don't even see that as a realistic goal, right? But I could set a goal for myself that the next time I go for a run, I'm going to run a little bit faster pace than I usually do, or I'm going to run a little further than I usually do. And that's a goal that I see as attainable because I know I can go out and do that. I might, be a little tired the next day, or I might feel a little more sore than I usually do, but I can do something like that. And so that first step, setting a goal that you can see yourself achieving, but that stretches you a little bit, that's the first step. Then you want to see it. So if you actually can picture yourself visualizing that goal, the chances that you're going to actually achieve it are much higher. And you've probably heard stories about athletes who use visualization. Lots of people do. Maybe some of you in this room already visualize yourself competing and think about what is that going to feel like when I make a perfect shot, or I make a perfect pass, or I run a great race, or whatever sport you're competing in. So being able to imagine yourself achieving those goals is really important. And then the last piece is to say it. So you're affirming it to yourself. And so what that means, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can actually talk to yourself about your goals. You can write them down every day. That's one that I like because there's something very like, when you actually are taking your hand and writing out on paper what your goals are, that's really programming them into your mind that this is something that you're working on and that is important to you and that you're going to focus on in trying to achieve that goal. So, what we're able to achieve is really a function of what we think and what we think about. There's been studies that show that the mind has about 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day. So you don't have a choice about thinking or not thinking. Like during that meditation a few minutes ago, I know when I try to meditate, my mind wanders off to different stuff. And how many of you during that meditation was your mind wandering somewhere? And you have to kind of bring it back, right? So your mind is always thinking. that's not a choice, but the choice comes in what you think about it. So if you start to pay attention to the kind of thoughts you have, you may become very aware of the fact that some of those thoughts are going to be positive and some of them are going to be negative. And the more you become aware of that, the more that you can work on this, because what happens is that when we think the same things over and over again, they create a habit. So we're a lot of times just functioning on autopilot. We go through the day, we have the same kind of thought patterns, we do the same things, right? You get into a routine. Maybe the habits are really good ones. Maybe your habit is, every day you work out, you hit the gym, or you exercise, or you go for a run, or whatever it is. But some of the habits may be, maybe bad habits, where when you get into a situation where you've got some adversity, you have a tendency to, to kind of back away from it instead of trying to push through it, right? And so having that mindfulness about what kind of thoughts you're having and how that plays into the actions that you take is really huge. When you change the kind of mental patterns that you have, when you change those habits, you change your outcomes, because those habits are what drive so much of what we do. You can think about it kind of like, the apps on your phone. Like, anybody ever download an app that doesn't really work the way you thought it would? Like, maybe it's buggy and it crashes, and it's like, how long does it take before you delete that off your phone? And you're like, I don't want this app anymore, but I'll download a different app. That's kind of the same as the mental programming that we have in our minds, is that programming can be good or it can be bad. And so if that programming is working against you, if that programming is saying, I'm not feeling like I'm as good as this person that I'm competing against, or I'm not confident that, when I get behind in a competition that I can come back and I can flip that, score on the other person. Those kinds of thoughts hold you back from being able to achieve what you're fully capable of. So determination really starts in the mind. And I'm going to do a little exercise now with all of you to kind of show you how powerful your mind is. So what I'd like you to do is hold your hands out in front of you, like this. Okay, and now for the sake of having this consistent for everybody, go ahead and take your right arm and turn it palm up, and then take your left and just leave it palm down, okay? And don't rest them on the table so everybody looks good. This is perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do here, now, I want you to, so you're gonna use your imagination, and to make this so you're not distracted, just follow along with me. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in, let your lungs fill up with air, and then go ahead and close your eyelids down. And through the comfort of your closed eyes, you can follow along with everything that I'm saying. You hear every word, and just bring all of your attention to those arms stretched out in front of you. And for right now, in the palm of that right hand, imagine I have just placed a large, heavy book, and that book is heavy. It's pressing down on that right arm, and the longer you hold that arm out in front of you, the heavier that arm begins to feel. That right arm just wants to drop down from that weight of that book, pressing down on it. And as if the weight of that book on the palm of that right hand is letting that arm begin to sink and drop lower and lower with each and every moment, the longer you hold that arm in front of you, the heavier that thing begins to feel. And meanwhile, on the left hand on your wrist, imagine that I've just tied the string of a giant red helium balloon, and the helium in that balloon is light, light, light. So that left arm being pulled up by that light balloon, beginning to float effortlessly, easily higher and higher. The longer you hold that arm outwards, the lighter it begins to feel, floating effortlessly, easily higher and higher. And meanwhile, on the palm of your right hand, I just placed 4, 5, 6, 7 more books on your right hand. And the longer you hold that right hand out, the heavier it begins to feel. And meanwhile, on the wrist of the left hand, I've just tied a bundle of even more balloons. And so feel that arm lifting, rising, floating, and freeze. And now just hold your arms where they are and open your eyes and see what happens.
Dude, here's a wild.
Now, just relax. Now what happens now? Most of you, your arms move at least a little bit as you're imagining in that one hand you've got a heavy pile of books pressing it down, and in the other hand you've got some light balloons pulling up on it. And that's the power of the mind at work there. And there's lots of different little kind of perks like that, the little fun things that you can do. That's about as close as I get to doing what would be like a comedy hypnosis routine. But it's a way for you all to kind of get a little bit of an experience of what happens in your mind when you're visualizing something happening. And there's been lots of studies about how the mind works and what happens when you do visualizations. So there was one study where they looked at people and they gave them a blue ball to hold, and they had like 3 different groups. And one of them actually didn't have a blue ball, but they were just being given like visual imagination descriptions of that ball. And then they used a PET scanner to look at the brains of the people who were in the study. And they found that the same areas of the brain were lighting up when people were being given vivid descriptions of this blue ball that they were holding, as the way that the brains were lighting up in the people who were actually holding that blue ball. So the things, the mental images that you hold in your mind can trigger the same kind of reaction in your body that actually doing that thing, whether that's whatever sport you're playing, and you visualize yourself succeeding at the particular thing you're trying to get better at, it has the same effect on your body as actually going out and physically practicing it. So how do you build a mindset that fosters that kind of determination and mental toughness to be able to work through whatever sort of adversity or ups and downs that you experience? I'm going to share 5 different tools with you that all can help you to shape that mindset. So the first of those is what I call mental log keeping. And I'll give you kind of a story or example to explain what that means. So anybody ever go out and look up somebody famous on like a Wikipedia page? Okay, so you probably noticed that whether they're an athlete, whether they're in Hollywood, whether they're a musician, whoever they are, those pages all kind of follow the same format, right? You usually kind of get, you know, their history of where they grew up, like what their childhood was, and then there's usually a transition to kind of how they became famous, whatever it is that they're good at doing, how they kind of broke through and became famous, and then, you know, there's going to be a section about what their accomplishments are and what kind of stuff they've done. But what you notice when you look at those pages is they're not a comprehensive history of that person, right? It's not a minute-by-minute account of everything they do. It's snapshots of their life. It's, you know, this good thing happened to them or this bad thing happened to them. Well, your mental log keeping is kind of the same way. So think about what kind of stories you tell yourself about yourself. Imagine you were writing a Wikipedia page about yourself. You can choose what things you want to focus on, right? And if you're putting things into your personal wiki page about yourself and they're all negative, then you're focusing in on the things that didn't go well, sometime when you failed or didn't do something as well as you could. Or you can be focusing on what are the things that you're good at, what are the things that you've done that have gone really well. And so as you build out those stories about who you are and what you're capable of, what you focus on is going to really drive what you're going to get in results going forward. It's all a process that builds on itself. And so the more you're telling yourself positive stories about what you're capable of, what you deserve to have, what you're worthy of having, that programs that kind of mindset into place where you expect that you're going to achieve good things. You expect that you can accomplish whatever it is that you set out to accomplish. And that ties back into goal setting as well. So that's the second one of these tools. So I talked about goal setting a little bit a few minutes ago, and the thing that I mentioned there was stretching and attainable, right? So what I like to encourage people to do is set 2 goals for themselves. Because if you have a list of like 20 goals, anybody ever try to focus on like 20 things at the same time? It's like your attention gets scattered in all directions, right? So keep it simple. Don't try to have 20 goals. Have a short-term goal and a long-term goal. And the long-term goal should be something that's, you know, between 6 months, a year, at the most 2 years out in the future. You know, you don't want it to be like too far out because then it's like, you know, you're not working directly toward it. So you've got your longer-term goal of something that you want to do in the next 6 to 12 to maybe 18 months. And then set a short-term goal that helps build toward that long-term goal. And the great thing about short-term goals is, so let's say your short-term goal was that you want to do, to work out a little more than you're doing right now, or you're going to have an extra day a week where you're going to work on something specific. And so if you do that for a while, Say you do that for 3 or 4 weeks. That turns into a habit. So now you've created a new baseline for yourself. So now that goal has been incorporated into your routine. And so you can kind of check that off your list, and now you can create a new short-term goal. And so your short-term goals can turn over as you accomplish the first one, you create a new one. And again, always building toward that long-term goal of what it is that you want to accomplish, about 6 to 12 months out in the future. So that way, you're keeping your mindset always focused on just those 2 goals. You're not getting distracted by having 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 goals that you're trying to, juggle between, because that just distracts your attention too much. And one thing that I would encourage you to really do is if you've got a goal that you're really focused on and you want to accomplish, write that goal down, and don't just write it down once, like write it down every day. Do it in the morning when you get up, do it at night before you go to bed. Write that goal on a piece of paper, stick it up next to your, mirror so when you're brushing your teeth, you see it. Whatever keeps that front and center in your mind, because the more you're connecting to your goals on a daily basis, the more effective that is in making sure that your attention is focused on that goal that you want to accomplish. All right, so the next step, the third tool here, is around positive self-talk and affirmations. So I talked a little bit about, the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and how easy it is to get stuck in the negative. It's very easy to spot the things that we do that don't go well and to fall back into that thought process of, I messed this up, I didn't do this as well as I could have. So this is all about focusing on creating positive stories about who we are and what we're capable of. So I'm going to teach you a technique here that what I would encourage you all to do is start to become aware of the things that you tell yourself about yourself. Notice when you're dropping into that kind of negative self-talk, when you're saying to yourself that, well, I'm not sure if I'm good enough to do this, or I didn't do this very well last time, or whatever. And when you notice that kind of negative self-talk happening, the first thing you'd want to do is imagine a stop sign. Just a big, nice red stop sign. You can see if you're driving to the building here today. Tell yourself to stop that negative thought. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's just that act of becoming aware of it and stopping yourself is a good step in shifting that kind of talk. And then you want to replace it with something positive. So to fully negate that negative thought, stop sign, imagine that you're stopping that thought, say that's not true, and then say something like, I've got this, or I'm confident. You can choose, in a few minutes we're going to talk about affirmations, and you can pick what you want to kind of be telling yourself about yourself. But put something positive in place of that negative thought that you just stopped. So now you're intentionally stopping negative talk about yourself and changing it into positive messages that are feeding into the goals that you want to accomplish and the image that you want to have of who you are. Now, you're probably aware of visualization, and one of the things that's important about visualization is it works a lot better when you're relaxed. So relaxation techniques are another piece of how you can do this mental preparation, kind of mental practice of being able to play in the zone, to be in the zone more often, right? Because that's really a huge part of doing well, isn't it? It's when you can play in the zone, you're in a different gear or in a different mindset than when you're feeling stress, when you're feeling pressure. What happens when you feel pressure, when you feel tense about something or nervous about something? It kind of triggers that fight or flight kind of mentality, right? It puts your body into a state where you're not able to be in the zone, you're not able to just be in a flow state because you're thinking about, what could go wrong, what are you worried about? And so there's lots of ways to do relaxation. I've got an audio that you can download for free from my website if you want to have a 10-minute relaxation that you can play anytime. You can listen to it before you go to sleep at night, you can listen to it in the morning. But being able to be in a relaxed state makes visualization more effective. And so that's the last piece of these 5 tools is visualization and mental imagery. So visualization and mental imagery is really interesting because you probably heard of different famous athletes talk about how they use visualization in their own preparation. Like a golfer might visualize that the shot is going to go right onto the green where he wants it to land, or where she wants it to land, or somebody may visualize that, if they go up for a jump ball, that, they're gonna come down with it. There's lots of ways to use visualization, but the one I want to talk to you right now about is there was a study that was done where they took college students who were good at basketball but not like great athletes. Okay, so these are people who are like proficient at basketball but they're not great at it. And they took all these college students, they took them into the gym and they had them practice shooting free throws, and they recorded how many they made. Then what they did is they broke them up into 3 groups. And so for a month, they had one group that went to the gym every day and spent a half an hour practicing shooting free throws. They had the second group that didn't do any practice at all. And then they had a third group where they gave them a very specific, like scripted visualization that they were gonna do every day for half an hour, where they would relax and imagine themselves shooting free throws. Then at the end of this 30 days, they brought all the students back into the gym and had them shoot free throws again, and they recorded how many they made, and then they looked at the numbers. So here's what they found. So the group that practiced for a half an hour today got better, which you'd expect, right? Specifically, they got about 24% better from the beginning of the study to the end. The group that didn't practice didn't get better. And that's not surprising either, right? If you don't practice something, you're probably not going to improve that. The part that's really interesting about this, though, is the group that did the visualization every day for a half an hour, they got better too, and they got better by 23%. So basically, the same benefit that the people who spend 30 minutes a day in the gym practicing, the people who spend 30 minutes a day visualizing, got virtually the same benefit, same amount of improvement in their free throw shooting. So, not saying that you should stop practicing and just spend all your time sitting around visualizing what you do, but being able to visualize a successful outcome at whatever skills you're trying to build, or whatever kind of result you want in your sport, is really effective. So, the final piece to this, so the thing that I would encourage you all to do later today, whenever, over the weekend, sometime when you've got some time, is first of all, think about what goals you want to set for yourself, that short-term goal and that long-term goal. And write those goals down and connect to them, every day, whether that's writing them down again, reading them to yourself, however you want to connect to them. The second piece to this is I'm going to teach you a really easy way to create some positive affirmations for this. And again, this is something you want to do on a daily basis. It's going to be the most effective that way. So affirmations are interesting. The way the mind works is the mind has to have these thoughts in positive present tense. So what does that mean? So the positive side is this. If you say you want to be more calm and relaxed when you're competing. If you say to yourself, I am not tense, or I am not stressed, what happens? You're focusing on the stress, and I'll give you an illustration of this. Don't think of a pink elephant. I don't want you to think about a pink elephant. I don't want you to think about how big that pink elephant is, or what color pink it is, or anything about that. Now, what's the image that you've got in your mind right now? Your mind didn't, yeah, exactly, right? Your mind didn't hear the don't, it heard the pink elephant. So if you're creating an affirmation for yourself, you want it to be in a positive. I am confident, I am unstoppable, I am fast, I'm strong. There's lots of different, pick the things that fit for you based on what it is that you're trying to build out, how it is that you want to change the results that you're getting. And what I would encourage you to do is to create just 3 of those things for yourself. And I'll give you an easy format for how to do it, because this puts it into positive present tense. I am, I feel, or I have. So it could be, I am confident, I'm strong, I'm fast, I'm unstoppable. It could be, I feel good when I get ready to compete. It could be, I have all the skills that I need to be successful. And you can make that a little more, you can build that out a little more. So what I like to do is add a because. So like, I am confident when I go out to compete because I've done all of the right preparation to get ready for that event, or because I have the right mindset, or because I have a great team around me and I know that when we play well together, that we can achieve anything that we want to. So using that format is a very simple way to create positive self-talk that you can then connect to on a daily basis to reinforce, again, whatever those kind of shift are that you're trying to make, whether it's that you want to have more confidence, whether it's that you want to feel more, prepared when you go out to compete. Any of those kinds of things that you want to put into your mind. And again, the mind doesn't distinguish between that vivid imagination and whatever is real. So if you're putting very vivid thoughts into your mind about successful outcomes that you can have, that's really programming your mind to have that kind of a positive outcome. So we're going to do one more visualization here before I wrap up. And here, so this is going to be more effective. I know everybody gets tired. It's early in the morning, so you might fall asleep. If you can keep yourself from falling asleep, that's better. But if you guys want, as I kind of talk you through this relaxation, your head's going to start to drop. So if you want to put your head down, that's fine. If you can keep yourself sitting up, that's fine too. But just kind of know your head's going to sort of start to drop down as I get into this. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. Hold it for a moment at the top of the inhale. Let that breath out, and your eyes are still open. Go ahead and let them close down. Begin to just notice the sensation of relaxation, starting at the top of your head, feeling your head, your forehead become relaxed. Let that relaxation go down now through your face, through your cheeks, let your jaw become relaxed. Notice just the little gap between your teeth as your jaw relaxes. Let that relaxation spread now down through your neck and into your shoulders, becoming more and more relaxed. You're breathing nice and slow, regular. Feeling that relaxation spread now from your shoulders down into your chest and your arms. Relaxing now down through your stomach and into your hips. Feeling that relaxation now spreading down through your legs, down into your feet. Toes becoming relaxed, your hands becoming relaxed. Just letting yourself relax deeper and deeper with every breath you take. Becoming more and more relaxed, feeling great. Focusing on your breath, focusing on the sound of my voice. And just feel yourself being nice and centered now, at peace, relaxed, calm. And with your mind's eye, begin to see yourself at a workout or a practice where you were performing at your absolute best, where you were performing perfectly, and you felt confident, competent. A time when you absolutely knew that you knew, and you were in complete control of your body and mind. A time when you knew completely that you were right on. A workout where you were at your peak physically and mentally. You were in control. You were having fun. There was no pressure, and it was easy. See yourself at that workout right now. Notice what you are wearing and how the people around you look. Become aware of how it felt deep inside of you when you knew you were absolutely right on, competent, in control, perfect. Take a look at those feelings. You felt comfortable and relaxed. After all, it was just a workout, or just a practice, right? You were loose, you were relaxed, and what were you saying to yourself? As you become aware of those feelings, choose a word or a short phrase that reminds you of those feelings. A word that makes you think of those feelings, makes you feel those good feelings again. And picture the word in your mind. Say it over to yourself. Remember the feelings. And then think of your perfect performance. Think about the way you looked, what you heard, how you felt during that perfect performance. Feel the experience deeply and say the word over to yourself. And notice how the word brings back that experience of fun and ease, and makes you feel and see yourself at your peak, performing perfectly. Say the word over to yourself and allow yourself to feel those feelings of being absolutely perfect. And think of your goal in your next competition and begin to see yourself there at that competition. The goal you have in mind is very important. Say this goal over in your mind. And when you have that goal well in mind, begin to see yourself achieving this goal. And remember the relaxed, easy feelings you had at that great practice. Start at the beginning of the competition. Watch. Listen. Feel and smell everything you can as you move closer and closer to achieving this goal. It is as easy as a workout. No pressure, no stress, no feelings of tightness. You are smooth and in control, relaxed and having fun. And remember your affirmations now and say them over to yourself. Say those phrases that support your goal. Say your word. Watch yourself coming closer and closer to your goal, feeling comfortable, having fun. You are light and smooth and fluid. And notice how it feels inside, what you are saying to yourself. Feel that in your heart. Remember that word you just gave yourself and how it connects you to those feelings of confidence, competence, well-being, relaxation, ease, and strength. And allow yourself to stay in those good feelings as you see yourself finally reaching that goal, competing at your highest level, feeling good, having fun. Become aware of what happens now that you have succeeded. What is happening around you? What is happening within you? Are people congratulating you? Are you alone? Feel the peaceful inner knowledge that you have done what you set out to do. You have done it well. It feels just as easy to compete as it feels like a good workout. Allow yourself to experience all of those feelings and the knowledge and the success. And know that anytime you want to call up those feelings again, those feelings of confidence and competence, anytime you want to have that sense of ease, relaxation, and enjoyment, all you have to do is center yourself, take a deep breath, and say your power word or phrase to connect yourself to those feelings. And now begin to watch the scene of that successful competition begin to float away from you. Watch it becoming dimmer. Let it go. You remember how it feels. And know that you are perfectly capable of achieving it at any time you choose. As you begin to come back into the peace in your mind, the relaxation in your body, the quiet of the room, come back to your breathing and notice how steady it is. Breathe deeply into your belly, filling your lungs with air. Hold it, and then let it go. And now on a count of 3, you may come back into the room. 1, begin to move a little and reconnect with your body. 2, move your arms and legs a little. 3, opening up your eyes, feeling relaxed and calm. So that kind of calm, relaxed state is what you want to be in order to be in the zone or in that flow state. When you're competing feeling tense and stressed, it triggers neurochemicals in the body that put you into the same state as like fight or flight. And that can be good, you know, it fuels the body, but at the same time, when you're trying to do a skill, when you're trying to be relaxed and compete, it works against you. So if you can compete from that kind of a relaxed place, it's gonna make it way easier to function in that kind of a zone or flow state. So, what I would leave you all with is this. You can't stop the mind from thinking. It's always going to be thinking about something. But what you can do is you can take control of what kind of thoughts you want to be putting into your mind, and what kind of things you want to be focusing on, and what kind of stories you want to tell yourself about yourself, and who you are, and what you can have, and what you can't have. We all have control of that all the time. Doesn't mean that we're always going to get everything that we want, or everything's always going to work out the way we want it to, because one of the things that I have found in my own life, and you've probably seen it yourselves, is that there's always going to be a curveball, there's always going to be something unexpected, nothing goes exactly the way you plan it to. But the more you're thinking from that positive standpoint, the more you're focusing on telling yourself that you're capable of doing something rather than telling yourself that you're not as good as the person that you're competing against, or that, you know, there was something you did wrong last time you competed, or whatever those stories are. The more you can shift those from that negative kind of self-talk to the positive self-talk, and the more that you take control of what it is that you want to set out to accomplish, and start to be very purposeful about how you go about that, the more you're going to build that muscle of determination, because that's really what you're doing, is you're programming your mind to know that when you come up against some kind of adversity, that you can work through it, and that you can get through to the other side and have the success that you're looking for. So just by taking the way that you think about what you're capable of doing, what kind of outcomes you can have, what it is that you want to accomplish, you are beginning to build that kind of mental toughness that then helps you get through adversity. Because that's the part that you can't change. The adversity is going to be there for all of us, whatever it looks like. There's ups and downs, whether that's in sports or in life, there's always going to be those ups and downs. But how you are equipping yourself to be able to respond to those things is what is going to give you that mental toughness and determination to work through that. So I hope that's helpful for all of you. Set those goals, do that positive self-talk, figure out what stories you want to tell yourself about yourselves, and build that mental toughness and determination so that you can get through whatever kind of adversity to hit your goals and accomplish the things you want to accomplish. Thanks, everybody.
If anybody has any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes. Okay. In my life, my experiences at your age in 10th grade, I go to my mom and I say, Mom, we're going to win state. She says, how do you know? I said, because I can see it. Okay? We had the team. We were preseason #1. I saw this. We won state in 10th grade. I told my mom we were going to win. She didn't believe me, but we did. So I'm a firm believer in what your mind tells you you can do. Okay? I wake up every morning with it's time to make a difference. Okay? That's what my alarm says to me. It's time to make a difference. So when I wake up, I say it's time to make a difference. I'm trying to make a difference in your life. So my passion every morning is for you. Time to make a difference. Okay? Another one. When I get in the mirror in the morning, I tell myself I'm a champion. Why? So I can be a champion for who? For you. For me. Okay? That's why I do what I do. If you use positive thoughts, affirmations, and you tell yourself you can do anything, you can do it. If you tell yourself you can't do anything, you will also be right. Your mind is strong. The message you got today was deep. At some point, those of you who had your heads down, that were not paying attention, at some point, you're going to want to learn how to train your mind to listen to people and pay attention to people that you do not think is important. At some point, you're going to have to come to it in your mind to mature, to stay attentive. I appreciate every last one of you. I thought you did a great job. I thought the speech was great. I thought the presentation was great. Thank you very much. One more time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Coaches. Rotations.
Mobility in the big gym. Game outside, speed outside. And then weight from weight room.
Okay, at the end today, when we're done today, we're going to have shirts right here. Make sure everybody gets a shirt. Hey, when you get your shirt, you must talk to Coach Kimmick so she can mark you off so we know you got a shirt. That shirt has to come back on Tuesday when we go to Feed My Starving Children. Be great on 3. 1, 2, 3.